Ja Morant is obviously one of the most exciting players in the NBA. He is a star, but the Grizzlies are better without him so far. Don't complain in the comments, blame the NBA standings. They have won 10 of 11 games since Ja went down, had a 5-game winning streak where they never trailed. That's only been done one time in 25 years. Oh, and they beat OKC by 73 points. So if they're so good without him, should they look to trade Ja Morant? There are two reasons that the Grizzlies are playing like the 73-win Warriors without Ja, and I'll explain those two things. But since they are so good without Ja, some people are asking if they should trade him because some people are idiots. If they can keep doing these two things I'm talking about with Ja Morant, they could make a finals run. Every great team that does make a finals needs a star, and Memphis ain't gonna win even a playoff series without Ja. Before he got injured, he was having an all-star year. I would even compare him to MVP Derrick Rose. I know, that's saying a lot. But D. Rose won MVP at 22 years old in his third season. Youngest winner in history. He averaged 25 points and about 7 assists a game. In Ja's third season, he's averaging about 24 points and 7 assists. He is crafty at the rim. He's got speed and transition like D. Rose. Dude averages almost 20 drives to the rim a night, second in the NBA. Now, they didn't track drives to the rim in 2011, but we all know how D. Rose played the game. This year, the West is wide open. Memphis actually has a chance to make noise. The Lakers suck. The Clippers don't have Kawhi. The Nuggets are injured. Now, winning a top 4 seed might sound crazy for a team that barely made the playoffs last year, but this made me go, We're about a third of the way through the season. The last 10 years of 82-game seasons, 82% of teams were about at the seed they would end up at. Over 50% of the teams were at the exact playoff seed just 31 games in. That is good news for the Bulls and the Cavaliers, by the way. What? But the Grizzlies are at number 4 in the West. Have they joined the Jazz, the Warriors, and the Suns as contenders? Maybe. But they're gonna have to do it with Ja Morant. Dude went down with a knee injury in late November, and they are crushing teams right now for 2 main reasons. Reason number 1 is defense. I am not joking when I say this. Ja has been the worst defensive player in the NBA this year. According to Cleaning the Glass, the Grizz are 14 points per 100 possessions worse on D with Ja on the floor. That is literally the worst number in the league. 99% of the NBA is better than Ja on defense. Now, he clearly has the tools to be better because, look, he's super athletic. He's 6'3". That's not too short. But for some reason, he's been awful this year. All you have to do is look at his last healthy game. The Hawks just went after Ja. John Collins sets a pick, and Ja becomes a non-factor, easy floater for Trey. Later on, Ja and Trey one-on-one here. Clint Capella barely even sets that screen, and Ja gets left behind. 2 more points for Atlanta. I am sorry, but the game plan is obvious for the other team when Ja is on the floor. Just hunt him, and you're gonna score points. Now look at the Grizzlies without Ja this year. Dylan Brooks is on Damian Lillard this time. Yeah, he gets a screen, but Brooks fights through it and forces a pass. Then he denies the pass back to Dame, so he can't get it. Nurk is forced to take a long 2 and bricks it. This is exactly what we've seen from like Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball this year. This is how they have become a much better defensive team than we expected. Take a look at Tyus Jones here. He gets beat, but Desmond Bane knows to help Steven Adams, and they create a turnover. Here's another example of a screen just not working for Dame. Dylan Brooks stays with him, then forces the turnover when Dame passes out of that double team. If Ja was the defender there, that probably wouldn't have worked. The Grizzlies have gone from dead last in defensive rating before Ja's injury to first place without him. What? I don't even care if Ja's your favorite player. You have to admit that is a ridiculous stat. Now, some people are going to argue that this is luck, and some people have. I just read an article on ESPN, and they basically said, oh, this is all down to luck because the Grizzlies' opponents shot really well from outside the paint before, but now they're just not shooting as well. What I don't understand is, like, why does that have to be just luck? I mean, we're getting a big enough sample size to say, no, that's actually skill. So reason number 2 is growth. Now, without Ja having the ball in his hands so much, other guys have gotten more minutes and they balled out. In fact, Desmond Bane should be the most improved player this year. He scored 23 points against the Lakers. He's averaging over 16 points in his second season. Dude is one of 2 players in the whole league who's shooting over 40% from field and 3 and 90% from the line. His growth is one of the biggest underdog stories. He didn't have a single scholarship offer after being a senior in high school, so he had to go play AAU after high school. He was a beast for Indiana Elite AAU, but he still only got 1 offer from TCU. So he goes there and he plays all 4 years in college before actually becoming the last first-round pick in 2020. So it shouldn't be a surprise that he is proving everyone wrong again this year. The second player that has stepped up is Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, some people were worried that his injuries were becoming too much and he wouldn't live up to his potential after getting the $100 million contract. I mean, at the beginning of this year, he kind of sucked. He was averaging 12 points, shooting 33% from the field, but now he's up to 16 points a night with 43% on good defense because the weight of that contract was just a little too much at first, but now he is in the zone. Now, other guys have grown too, but none of this even matters if they can't keep it up when Ja comes back. I think if Ja's teammates can keep this up on offense, then Ja can expend more energy on defense and not be such a negative. If that does happen, it's a lot of fun to imagine what their ceiling could be this season. So, if they keep this top 4 seed, then they would host the 5th seed in round 1. Right now, that would be the LA Clippers. So obviously the big question would be, are they going to have Kawhi back? I think he actually is going to come back for the postseason, which isn't great. But the Grizzlies could defend Kawhi and PG with Desmond Bane and Dillon Brooks. Jaren Jackson would be a great matchup for any big that the Clippers would throw at him, plus obviously Ja doing his thing. Round 2, if they could beat the Clippers, would be against the 1 seed Warriors or Suns. Now, I actually think that the Grizz would have a better matchup against the Dubs. Grizz opponents have only shot 32% from 3 since Ja's injury. Obviously, the Warriors' best 2 players live from the 3-point line. One of the Warriors' 5 losses this year was to the Grizzlies in San Francisco. The next round would be against the other opponent, either the Suns or the Warriors, and I do think that that's a loss. So their absolute ceiling is the conference finals, but they win nothing without Ja Morant. Stars win big games in the postseason. I mean, remember the Knicks last year? They had good defense. They got a top 4 seed. They also had a fraud all-star because Julius Randle just became like a role player against the Hawks and they lost that series. I don't care how good the Grizzlies have been without Ja Morant. They shouldn't even think about trading him. That is insane. What they need to do is add Ja to this winning formula that they have found. And speaking about West contenders and also teams that don't get enough love, a Grizzlies video? Is this gonna get a lot of views? Probably not, but if you're a diehard NBA fan, you care about this stuff. And I've been getting a lot of questions about, are the Jazz a real contender? Because they're having a great regular season again, but for them, we know it's all about the postseason. And it kind of all is about Rudy Gobert. And I've heard a lot of talk about Gobert from other NBA players too who hate on this dude. But I think everyone is wrong about Rudy. And I also say what their actual ceiling is this year.